What begins as a simple dream beneath the stars blossoms into a beautiful journey of love, family, and hope. Quang and Linda once imagined their future on a quiet farm, whispering wishes of children's laughter and a home filled with joy. Soon, those dreams came alive with the birth of their daughter, Sophia, whose smile transformed every hardship into happiness. From sleepless nights to Sophia's very first birthday celebration, their story is one of devotion and pure love. Stay tuned, subscribe now, and join us as we relive this heartwarming tale from the farm. The sun was sinking gently behind the hills, spreading its golden glow across the quiet farm where Quang and Linda sat side by side on the old wooden bench that had become their favorite spot. The air smelled faintly of fresh hay and blooming wildflowers, and the evening breeze carried with it the rustle of leaves, a sound that always made them feel at peace. In that tranquil moment, with the horizon painted in hues of amber and rose, the couple often allowed themselves to drift into daydreams of a life they had not yet lived but could already feel with their hearts. Quang would wrap his arm around Linda's shoulders, and together they painted vivid pictures of their shared future. They imagined mornings filled with laughter when the soft cry of a baby would wake them instead of the rooster's crow, and afternoons when tiny feet would patter across the farmhouse floor, bringing a rhythm of joy to their home. Linda's eyes often sparkled whenever she spoke of the child they longed for. She pictured a little girl with Quang's warm smile and her own curious eyes, running through the fields with the wind tugging at her hair. Sometimes, when she closed her eyes, she could almost hear the sound of giggles floating in the air, mingling with the chirping of crickets and the gentle clucking of chickens in the yard. Quang would laugh softly, teasing her about how spoiled their child would be. Yet, deep down, his heart swelled with tenderness at the thought of becoming a father. The simple idea of holding his daughter in his arms one day gave him strength through long days of hard work on the farm. Their conversations about the future never stayed the same. Each evening, they added a new layer of hope to their dreams. One night, they spoke of building a little wooden swing at the edge of the orchard where their child could sway gently under the shade of old apple trees. Another night, they imagined birthday celebrations held in the barn, decorated with flowers picked fresh from the meadow, where family and friends would gather to share laughter and cake. They dreamed of teaching their child to feed the animals, to plant seeds in the soil, and to watch with wonder as green shoots pushed their way toward the sun. Each image was like a thread, weaving a tapestry of a future filled with love, growth, and simple joys. There were nights when the weight of reality, financial worries, the unpredictability of farm life crept into their thoughts. Yet, instead of letting those fears divide them, Quang and Linda chose to see them as challenges they would overcome together. They believed that their shared dreams were stronger than any obstacle, and that love, when nurtured like the soil of their land, would bear fruit in time. With every whispered hope and every gentle promise made under the fading light of dusk, they strengthened their bond, reminding each other that they were not just working toward survival, but toward the creation of a home brimming with love and possibility. The farm was quiet, the world seemed to pause, and all that remained was the steady beat of hope in their hearts. Time, as it always does, moved forward with quiet determination. The seasons changed, and with them, so did the lives of Quang and Linda. The dreams they once spoke of beneath starlit skies began to take root in reality the day Linda discovered she was carrying their child. That morning, the farmhouse seemed brighter than usual, the air lighter, as though the entire farm shared in their joy. Quang's hands trembled when Linda showed him the small test, and his eyes, normally so steady, glistened with tears. For a long while, neither of them spoke, but in their silence was an overwhelming flood of emotions: gratitude, awe, and the first true taste of the future they had imagined so often. Pregnancy turned their routine into something sacred. Every morning, Quang woke earlier than usual to make sure Linda's tea was warm and that the chores were lightened, insisting she save her strength. Linda, though, refused to sit idle, often walking through the fields slowly, caressing her rounded belly as if already speaking to the little soul inside her. She whispered secrets into the wind, words of love and promises of protection, believing somehow her child could already hear. The animals of the farm seemed to sense the change too. The cows would lean closer when she passed, the hens grew strangely protective, and the family dog often curled at her feet as if guarding mother and child. The day Sophia arrived was one etched forever into their memory. The sky was heavy with clouds, yet the world inside the farmhouse blazed with light. Linda's cries of pain were woven with Quang's anxious prayers, his hand gripping hers with unyielding devotion. Hours felt like eternity, until finally the air was pierced by the soft, miraculous cry of new life. Their daughter, tiny, fragile, yet brimming with the power to transform their world, was placed in Linda's arms. She was swaddled in white cloth, her face pink and scrunched, her fingers curling instinctively around Linda's thumb. Tears streamed freely down both their cheeks as they gazed at her, speechless. In that fragile bundle of warmth and life, they saw every dream they had ever dared to hope for. They named her Sophia, a name chosen not only for its beauty but for its meaning: wisdom, grace, and light. To them, Sophia was more than a child. She was the living embodiment of their shared love, the answer to every whispered prayer beneath the stars. Days quickly fell into a new rhythm, one defined by lullabies, midnight feedings, and the soft rustle of blankets as Sophia stirred in her crib. Quang, who once thought his calloused farmer's hands were too rough, discovered a gentleness he never knew he possessed as he held his daughter against his chest, humming softly until she drifted to sleep. Linda's world, too, revolved around every smile, every sound, and every tiny expression Sophia made. Though exhaustion sometimes weighed heavily on them, joy outweighed every sleepless night. Their little farmhouse became a haven of warmth, the walls echoing with Sophia's laughter, the rooms filled with the scent of baby powder and fresh bread baking in the oven. Visitors came with gifts and blessings, marveling at how radiant Linda looked, how proud Quang stood with his daughter in his arms. And every evening, when the chores were done and Sophia lay nestled between them, Quang and Linda would once again talk of the future. Only now, their dreams were no longer abstract visions. They had a name, a face, and a heartbeat. The year passed in the blink of an eye, as though time itself had learned to run just as fast as little Sophia's growing spirit. The baby, who once fit snugly in the crook of Linda's arm, now toddled across the farmhouse floor with surprising determination, her tiny feet tapping against the wooden planks like a joyful rhythm. Quang often found himself pausing in his chores simply to watch her explore, her hands reaching for the sunlight that streamed through the windows, her laughter ringing out like the purest melody. Each day seemed to unveil a new part of her personality, curious, lively, mischievous, yet always tender, especially when she curled against her mother at night. For Quang and Linda, those 12 months had been both the most challenging and the most beautiful of their lives, filled with sleepless nights, endless worry, and immeasurable joy. And now, the day had arrived to celebrate Sophia's very first birthday, a milestone they had dreamed of long before she was born. The morning of the celebration dawned crisp and clear, the farm bathed in the gentle light of early autumn. Quang rose before the sun, determined that everything would be perfect. He decorated the old barn with garlands of wildflowers and ribbons, while Linda arranged a table with her best homemade dishes: fresh bread, warm pies filled with apples from their orchard, and a cake she had baked with the greatest care. The table itself was draped in a simple linen cloth, adorned with mason jars filled with daisies and sunflowers, their cheerful colors glowing in the morning light. Sophia, dressed in a tiny white dress with a bow in her hair, seemed to sense that the day was special. She clapped her hands, her laughter bubbling like music as she toddled between her parents, basking in the warmth of their love. Family and close friends soon gathered, bringing gifts wrapped in simple paper and tied with string, tokens of affection rather than extravagance. The celebration was intimate, yet it carried a depth of meaning far greater than any grand affair. As everyone sang happy birthday, Sophia's wide eyes sparkled with wonder, and when she saw the single candle flickering atop her cake, she let out a squeal of delight. With Quang's steady hands guiding her, she blew out the candle, though more air escaped in a giggle than a breath. The barn erupted in laughter and applause, the sound echoing into the fields beyond. In that moment, Linda's heart swelled so full that tears glistened in her eyes. She leaned against Quang, their shoulders touching, their gazes meeting in silent gratitude for the life they had built together. As the afternoon unfolded, the farm was alive with joy. Children played tag among the hay bales, their laughter mingling with the bleating of goats and the clucking of hens. Guests lingered over slices of apple pie, cups of warm cider in hand, marveling at how Sophia had already become the heart of the home. Quang lifted his daughter high into the air, spinning her gently until her laughter rang across the fields. Linda watched them, her hand pressed to her chest, overwhelmed by the beauty of it all, the simplicity, the purity, the love that wove them together. It was not the grandeur of wealth or luxury that made the day memorable, but the closeness of family, the kindness of friends, and the bond of a dream fulfilled. As the sun began to dip, casting long golden rays across the pastures, the celebration softened into quiet conversations and lingering embraces. Sophia, exhausted by the excitement, nestled into Linda's arms, her tiny eyelids fluttering closed. Quang wrapped an arm around his wife and child, drawing them close as the guests began to depart. The farm grew peaceful again, but it now carried the echoes of joy, a reminder of a day that would be treasured forever. Looking at his sleeping daughter, Quang whispered a vow to keep protecting and nurturing the little family they had built, while Linda kissed Sophia's forehead, silently thanking the heavens for every blessing. The dream they once spoke of beneath the stars had taken shape, more vivid and beautiful than they had ever imagined. On that night, as the farmhouse lights flickered gently against the darkness, Quang and Linda knew that this was only the beginning. Their love, once just a promise, had become a legacy, and Sophia, their greatest
Hello,
joy,
xin chào
was
tất
the
cả các
living
khán
proof of
giả của
it.
kênh Lý Tử Linda Review. Rất vui vì ngày hôm nay lại được gặp lại các bạn trong tập hôm nay. Trong tập hôm nay, nội dung của tập phim đó chính là việc Quang và Nina mơ ước và mong muốn khát khao có được con gái đầu lòng và sẽ đặt tên bé là Sophia. Hai người đều tưởng tượng đến cảnh khi bé Sophia được 1 tuổi thì gia đình sẽ tổ chức tiệc sinh nhật mừng bé 1 tuổi bên nhau thật là hạnh phúc vô cùng. Điều đó làm cho Quang và Linda càng khát khao sớm có thai trở lại hơn. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn thú vị về câu chuyện Linda và Quang sẽ còn ở phía sau, các bạn hãy bấm vào nút đăng ký kênh để nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các tập phim sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Bí Tử Ninja Review nha. Đặc biệt là các bạn đừng quên bấm nút like, nút chia sẻ và để lại bình luận ở dưới video. Cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại. Bye bye!